Hi, Amelia. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, no problem. Very excited to talk to you. Hope you had a nice day so far. I know it's probably been a long one.
It has, but it's been so nice. It feels like the film's finally coming out and we're able to talk about it. And I saw Marley, Troy, and Daniel, and Sean, and some of our interpreters for the first time since we were shooting. So it's been like a little reunion. So I'm having a great time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you real quick, where did you have the premiere at?
We didn't have one. We were meant to have a premiere on Thursday, um, but it was cancelled because the cases in LA are getting bad again.
Oh, okay. So that's where all the photos you just kind of got together as a little family.
Honestly, yeah, we're staying in this hotel and they just put a board up outside the hotel and we all just stood there. It's such a weird experience with this pandemic. It's like there was a moment in time where there was like no sign of the world opening back up. And there was a moment where I thought, oh my gosh, is anyone going to see this movie that we all worked so hard on? And then, we were so excited when it went to Sundance, and I was over the moon. I'd never been to Sundance, but it was a weird experience because it was kind of surreal. I was on a night shoot in a field in the middle of nowhere, and then the night we premiered, and then suddenly I'd look at my phone and there'd be so many messages of people loving the movie, and I just wish we could have all been together.
Yeah, I mean, you deserve to go back to Sundance and experience the Eccles Theater firsthand.
I know, I hope so. Sean's been to Sundance with her film Tallulah, and she kept saying to me, "You don't know what you're missing." And it's true, I don't. I know no difference. But I had a great Sundance experience, even though it was all online.
I saw the movie at Sundance, and I mean, I immediately fell in love with it. I was telling Sean that I think this is the best movie of the year so far. I mean,
Oh my
I've se-
goodness.
I went through all through summer movies, and this movie still is the best one.
Oh my God, that makes me so happy. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I loved it. So I wanted to kind of you already answered my question about Sundance because I was going to ask you how was your first Sundance.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Did you have any idea that this was a remake of a French film when you signed on to it?
I did. The minute I found out I got the part, I wanted to watch La Famille Bélier. Um, And I did. I loved both films. They're similar. It's a similar story, and I love that both films are a love letter to family. But I also love that our films are very, very different. I love that there was such an emphasis on authenticity with our film, and I love that a strong example of representation done right is in our CODA. Um, so I did watch it, but they're very different. So I then kind of forgot about it a little bit while we were shooting and while I was prepping.
I want to know, and I know I'm opening with such a difficult question, but um, for you personally, what is your favorite scene in the movie?
Oh, gosh, there were so many that I loved. My favorite scene in the movie was the scene at the back of the pickup truck with Troy.
Mine
Um,
too. Mine too.
yeah, it's a moment in the film that is so emotional, and it was so emotional to film. You know, you're always battling kind of time, and this was the last scene of the day, and we were kind of working really hard together, Troy and I and Sean. Um, to try and, I guess, reach that happy medium. I was trying to find the best way that I could project my voice so Troy could feel the vibration, and he was trying to figure out where on my neck he felt the most vibration, and we were kind of working together trying to get this connection. And Troy kind of pulled away from me and he looked me in the eye and he said, "I would give anything to hear you sing right now." And because Troy and I were very, very close, and he was missing his daughter, I was missing my dad, and we kind of fell into this relationship and this connection. And when he said that, it really hit me, and I got really emotional. And he kind of folded me into one of his hugs, and we sat there for a second, and then we went into the scene. And I think it was so emotional for us to film, and I think from the people that I've spoken to, they found that scene emotional, and so I'm glad because it was so special to me, and I'm glad that people love that scene.
It's one of those moments in a film where like you forget you're watching actors and you feel like you're just watching a family, right? Having one of those moments, like you're a fly on the wall
Mhm.
and you're just here in the moment with them, watching this unfold. And it's so almost impossible not to at least tear up. I managed to keep it together a second time when I watched the movie, but the first time, I mean, the first time I watched this movie, I was like in tears for like the last 30 minutes of it. Like I could not stop crying. Like I don't know what happened. It's so refreshing to see something that made me feel good. Like last year was so difficult, and every movie that I watched around award season was like this depressing thing after another. And I was
Yeah.
telling Sean at the beginning of our interview that like I love Sound of Metal, but it's a
Mhm.
hard movie to watch, right? It's
Yeah.
not accessible at all. It asks a lot of the viewer, and to see something like this, which is so joyful and happy and
Mhm.
celebrates the deaf community, makes this movie so magical. And your performance, along with everyone else, just carries this entire feeling throughout this 2-hour movie, and I loved every moment of it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I mean, I love that you said because of the pandemic and it's been very hard. I love
Yes.
that, this film is a love letter to family, and the pandemic has kind of forced people to be apart from their family or their loved ones, and or it's either kind of brought you back together with your family or your loved ones. I know that I've been away filming for a year, and the world kind of shut down, and it allowed me to go home and spend some time with my family, and we had a lot of movie nights and things. But I'm glad that people are relating to the film and finding it easy to watch. And not only is it easy to watch and uh, these characters are so relatable, it's also kind of teaching people. I know for me, I didn't know anything about ASL and I didn't know anything about deaf culture. Um, and this film allowed me to kind of enter that world and that community and learn. And so I hope when people watch the film, they want to know more and learn too.
Can you walk me a little bit through that? Like, what was it
Yeah.
like kind of signing on to a project, knowing that you were going to be one of the only people who can, talk during the
Mhm.
entire movie? And learning ASL, what that was like, and was it challenging, and would you recommend others to do it?
It was very challenging. I was filming a Netflix show at the time when I found out I got the role, and so I went immediately into ASL training. I had an incredible coach called Anselmo de Souza in Toronto. He didn't just teach me ASL; he taught me about deaf culture, and he kind of set me up for kind of immersing myself into this world. And he was so patient. And then I flew to Massachusetts and I worked closely with Anne Tomasetti and Alexandria Wales, who are they were my rocks throughout this film. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. They really, really, really pushed me. Um, I think they saw that I wanted to learn and I wanted to grow, and I wanted to do this role the best I could. If there was a choice between a sign that was easier or a sign that would make people feel more, I wanted to do the more challenging sign. Um, and so they kind of pushed me and allowed me to grow and step outside my comfort zone. I loved portraying my feelings through a different medium. I found when I was signing, I became a lot more emotional and vulnerable. I feel like there's no words to hide behind. So you really have to embody what you're saying and you have to kind of get out of your head. And and then I guess working with Troy, Marley and Daniel really helped me grow and get better, and learn. And um, I guess not just ASL, but also deaf culture. I learned a lot when I got to set. When we had our first rehearsal in the Rossi house, Troy, Daniel, and Marley were saying, well, this isn't how a deaf person would arrange their living room. There was a sofa in front of a window, and if you're backlit, you can't see facial expressions, and facial expressions are so important with ASL. So it was things like that that kind of made me learn, and I knew nothing about it, and I definitely urge people to learn. Not if you don't learn ASL, just to learn about deaf culture and their community.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important for people to be more open-minded about this
Yeah.
because there's been such a big push in the industry for the last 5 or 6 years at this point where we've heard the word inclusion thrown around a lot, or diversity thrown around a lot, and I feel like we're making some strides, but I feel like we're still forgetting what that means as a
Yeah.
whole, right? Like we need more movies, we need more talent and more actors that
Mhm.
are in these underrepresented groups to come
Yeah.
forward. And that was what really stood out to me about this movie, is that there's this level of authenticity that comes from these actors because they're not pretending. They're not like acting. They're literally
Mhm.
being natural. It's who they
Yeah.
are. And I was just so blown away by your performance because, movie is about children of deaf adults, right? Like that's what
Mhm.
it is. And you make me believe that you were actually a child of a deaf adult.
Thank you. I was lucky because on set our interpreters were coders. So it meant that not only did I talk to a lot of coders before flying to Massachusetts, it meant throughout my whole filming experience, I was surrounded by coders that I could kind of talk to, and I could constantly ask questions. Um, I just wanted to make sure I heard, I guess, all of the coders' experiences, because although they all share one thing in common, all their experiences are completely different. So I was very, very lucky to be, surrounded by all these, amazing coders and amazing deaf consultants. Um, but you're right, CODA is a strong example of representation done right. But we do have a long way to go. I love that in this film, these characters are not solely defined by being deaf. It's
Yes.
about a family. It's about a family dynamic, and they just happen to be deaf. And I love that. Um, this film is a love letter to family, as I said before, and it's just at the same time showing you a culture that people don't know about.
Yeah, and I love the fact that your character, you know, at first you're kind of like, I need to do this for me. I can't always be here to take care of you. And then you have that moment where you find out that there's financial burden. And you have that moment of self-realization where you say, "You know what? It can wait. I can wait. I got to take care of my family first." And then the movie takes this shift. There's a shift
Mhm.
where like now it's like the parents are finally realizing what you're losing out on by not taking this opportunity. And to me, that's where the real emotional punch comes into the movie because I can, even though I'm not, a CODA, I can totally understand that dynamic. And I think it makes it so accessible to everyone who's watching this movie, kind of having that struggle of letting their child go.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this movie, if it's marketed properly and people push it out enough, it's going to have a huge impact. And it's important because it's a huge step forward for representation.
Yeah. You said it absolutely perfectly. It really is, and I think there is that moment um, in the film where the parents realize that they need to let Ruby go and let Ruby kind of experience life outside of her Gloucester bubble. But also, there's a turning point in the film where Leo opens up to Ruby and just tells her the truth. And they were fine before her. And I think it's a moment for Ruby. She realizes that actually her parents haven't been holding her back. She's been holding herself back. She's scared. All of her life she's shouldered this responsibility, and she's interpreted for her family forever, and it scares her to think that now she's got to do something on her own.
So, how are you feeling right now that we're moving into award season. This movie is one of the first movies to kind of come out of award season. And as you know, a lot of the reviews have been kind of saying that you deserve to be part of that conversation. What is that like for you?
I I don't believe it. I can't believe it. I don't think I'm just so happy, that we won those awards at Sundance, and I'm just so grateful that, Apple picked up our movie, and I'm just so grateful that people are enjoying our film. And the fact that, they're even saying the words award season is A, crazy to me, but also it's just so lovely to that's like winning in itself, because we all worked so hard on this film, and this movie changed my life and it enriched my life, and it was so special to make. So I'm just so glad people are enjoying it as much as I enjoyed making it.
Yeah, you should get used to it though, because I think it's going to be happening a lot more for the next couple of months. You got like 4 or 5 months of listening to this, like it's going to go on and on.
I'm terrible. Anytime someone says it, I kind of sink in my chair and I just laugh awkwardly.
You got to work with, I think Morley is obviously an icon in a lot of
Very
ways.
much so. I
And
definitely look up to Marley, that's for sure.
and she's been such an advocate for representation.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about your relationship and how you built that chemistry with her in the film?
Marley is so kind, and as you said, she's an icon. I look up to her. I very much see her as a role model. Um, I was very lucky. The first time I met Marley, we had a conversation and immediately just kind of got on well. And she was definitely a mother figure to me while I was filming CODA. She was checking I was warm enough and if I was eating enough. And um, she's an amazing cook. So on the weekends, she would cook these amazing meals, and we would sometimes go over and watch the football. Me, Troy, Daniel, and Sean, and the interpreters, we'd all meet up on the weekends. I guess we were filming in this tiny fishing town and knew nobody but each other, and we kind of became a family. And I was so grateful to have Marley by my side throughout this whole process, because and even now, because she's been doing this for so long and she's so talented. I and as I said, I look up to her. She helps me a lot. I'm asking questions. This is, I'm still learning ASL and I'm still learning all about deaf culture, and she kind of helps me. She's gonna find me a deaf coach when I start ASL again after I finished filming this TV show. I had a teacher in lockdown, but she is busy now. So Marley's just constantly looking out for me. And it was fun to play the relationship between Ruby and Jackie, because it's a very layered relationship. Um, they're opposites. Jackie likes to look pretty, and Ruby does not care. She's a Fisher girl. And it was a very special scene when Jackie is opening up to Ruby and telling her how she feels when Ruby was born. And I think it's an important moment for Ruby, because they've not really had that chat and that connection. Ruby's definitely closer to her father, and so I think that was a really lovely moment for Ruby to connect with her mother. And I loved filming that scene with Marley, because I feel very, very close to Marley, and I loved just watching her. She had that speech about how she felt when Ruby was born, and I just remember forgetting I was in the scene. I was just absolutely mesmerized and in awe. She's so talented. Troy and Daniel are also incredibly talented. I felt so lucky to work with these amazing actors. I learned so much from them.
Well, it was lovely to talk to you. They're making me rap, but I would love to do this again
Oh,
sometime.
yes,
And
please.
I think we will because, like I said, I think there'll be some campaigning later on. So I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much for today. I'm so happy that you enjoyed the movie, and I love talking.
Oh, I love talking to you as well. Have a great day, okay?
Yes, you too. Thank you again.
All right, bye bye.